Relationships are very important and play a cardinal role in our lives. So, as human beings, we are social beings, and relationships make us, they add to us. So, in healthy relationships, we find support, we find satisfaction, meaning our health, mental, emotional, even physical health is enhanced, improved. It boosts our well-being. Similarly, when relationships are unhealthy or toxic, they also affect us negatively, right? They erode or steal our inner peace, drain us, and damage us, our self-worth. And so to be able to understand relationships, to appreciate signs of healthy and toxic relationships, and learn strategies to navigate, to cultivate and improve your relationships is an important thing that we need to engage ourselves in. So whoever you are, wherever you are, nobody is an island. That is why the first thing, in fact, before you were made, before you were formed, before you were conceived, what happened was there was a relationship, there was a certain intercourse, there was a certain mating or meeting to have you. So it was not just one person, okay? However it is, however you want to see it, you cannot do away with relationships. And for me, my perspective is if it has to be, then we must make the most of it. We must find out the best way to have it and do our best to keep it healthy and sane so that it would contribute to us rather than take away from us. Since you cannot avoid relationships, so whether family relationship, romantic relationship, workplace relationship, there are all kinds of relationship we find ourselves in. And all those relationships can be toxic or healthy, right? So however it is important that you learn to make them healthy. Now, we want to look at toxic relationship, appreciate it. How does it look like? So that when you appreciate this, you would know what to be working out, what to be eliminating, and then would also go on later to handle what you can be putting in terms of cultivating healthy relationships. When we talk about toxic or unhealthy relationships, there are relationships that have some harmful behaviors present in them. Whichever relationship you find yourself in, whether it's family, whether it's romantic, whether it's marriage, whether it's work or friendships, you can have it being toxic or healthy. Lots of times when we talk about toxic relationship, lots of our minds goes to romantic relationships. But hey, you can have a very toxic relationship and it is between family, your parents, your siblings. What are some of the signs by which you can identify toxic relationships? It's where in a relationship, one person or there is always one-sided blame or feeling guilty or at fault all the time. So then we are having criticism or blame that is just one side. So it's always one person feeling guilty and being in the wrong. It could be two-sided. So it's every time one person is feeling guilty or the other is, because all they do or all that you find in the relationship is criticism and blaming. All right. A lot of time, don't think that because it is you, you are always the victim. The other person could also be the victim. So when you realize that, how do you relate with the other person, your significant other, partner, your colleague, your parents? Is it always blaming, criticizing? So one person should always feel at fault. So that is one sign. The other thing you can look out for or key sign to show a toxic relationship is making partners or people in the relationship question their reality. Sometimes we see things as this is what it is, this is what has happened. But when we go into talking and clarifying, then you begin to doubt, am I thinking wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. So you might find yourself in a relationship, and every time you raise a concern, every time something happens and you want to deal with it, you always end up questioning what you saw, questioning what you felt, questioning what you thought, because even your feeling is defined, is described. It shouldn't be this, it should be that. So you may even be feeling guilty or questioning your own feeling, how you're experiencing the situation or the circumstance. It has to be defined for you or given to you. Or maybe you find yourself doing that to the other. So are you always questioning your reality, your truth that you have seen, all right, or you have experienced, or the truth about you, your person? Are you always questioning it because of that relationship? Sometimes you are being given definitions you know is not you, or you are giving people definitions, and you are always making the other doubt themselves, doubt their truth, their reality, their personality, their being, their worth. Hey, that is a manipulative relationship. You are actually gaslighting, manipulating each other, or one is always manipulating the other. So some people can be manipulators, all right, and would always want to shift the truth or paint it in a certain way to make it look like the way they want it to look. So what do you have to do? Become alert, become aware, become conscious. You can also have relationships where lies are frequent, all right? Now, it's either one person is always lying, breaking promises, all right, and do not keep to their words. In such a relationship, what you are having is that there is a lack of respect and trust. You don't even trust each other, or you can't trust the other to keep their words and their promises to you. And that is not a sign of health. So for instance, you can never either plan with the person or know that this thing this person is saying is so. So I say that you may be in a relationship where the person says look left and you are confused whether to look up, down, left or right. You cannot just say that this person says this and this is what it is and this is what it means. And you see, we are not talking about just one-off happenings, but things that are constant, happenings that are constant, consistent. It is that the life or the way things are, the manner in which you're living. That is what we are talking about. So if you're in a relationship and probably once in a while somebody's not able to keep to their words or promise, I'm not talking about that. That cannot be outrightly defined as a toxic relationship. All right. So we are talking about where the happenings are patterns, they are cycles. That is how it keeps happening. So lack of respect and trust, okay, which is a constant happening, is a sign of toxic relationship. You also have where there is so much control and isolation, all right? So you realize that you find yourself in a relationship where the other person wouldn't want you to relate to any other person. I have practically experienced that, not personally, but with people I have coached, right, who got into relationships, and suddenly you can't talk to your friends, you can't talk to your parents, you can't tell anybody what is happening between us, all right, without my permission. Sometimes it starts like that, or I don't want you to relate to them and they are not good, okay, and probably it's not just one or two people, but suddenly it's like everybody around you is not supposed to come close to you, or you cannot relate to the person again. You have to cut off from all your friends, all your family. You cannot have those bonds, those ties anymore. Things are happening and you are not allowed to communicate, to try to find help from anywhere. Hey, be careful. You're being isolated, and that, if it is just the way it is from everybody, anybody, that is a big red flag, a big question, a big sign of toxicity in your relationship or an unhealthy relationship, right? Or there are excessive demands on your time, on your resources. So lots of us, because we find ourselves in relationships, we can't have a life anymore with our resources. We can't define what is ours. There is no boundary to our time, to what belongs to us. It's like your emotions are my emotions and your time is my time. Your resources are my resources. There is no boundary. There are no definitions. Just excessive demands. Hey. Then you could also have emotional drains and anxiety, all right, where you always feel so exhausted after engaging in interactions or conversations or whatever. You realize that anytime you interact with that person or with that partner, whoever, you feel drained, you feel stressed, you feel like you've lost a part of yourself, you feel less than you were before. You are always questioning, always draining, always on walking on eggshells, on tentacles. Every time you have to even communicate, you have to overthink because you're either going to be blamed and going to be put on this guilt trip, or there is always something wrong with the way you did it, the way you said it, or the way you carry yourself, the way you even are naturally is questioned or is put down. Hey, you are in for trouble, or that is a sign of a toxic relationship. All right. What we are talking about, become aware. So we will be talking about other things. As you gain awareness, you begin to appreciate, you begin to observe the patterns and the cycles in the relationship you find yourself in. It helps you now to begin to either take decisions or seek help